In August 2024, investigators in Cleveland dug up a grave. Inside was what's left of a man they've been trying to identify for nearly a century. He has 6 tattoos. His name might have been Paul, or maybe WCG, nobody knows. Because when he was murdered and decapitated in 1936, the killer took the head. In August 2024, investigators in Cleveland dug up a grave. Inside was what's left of a man they've been trying to identify for nearly a century. He has 6 tattoos. His name might have been Paul, or maybe WCG, nobody knows. Because when he was murdered and decapitated in 1936, the killer took the head. To understand what happened here, you have to understand what Cleveland was in 1935. It was a city in performance mode. The Great Depression had hollowed out the industrial Midwest. Cleveland, once called the Forest City, was running on half its engine. Steel plants functioning at half capacity. Unemployment tore through working-class neighborhoods like water through limestone. The city's leadership, acutely aware of how bad things looked, scheduled 2 massive public events for 1936. Image was everything. Against that backdrop, someone started leaving bodies. Kingsbury Run was not a neighborhood, it was a scar. A dry creek bed carved into the earth east of downtown. It stretched for miles beneath railroad overpasses and factory shadows. By the mid-1930s, it had become what locals called hobo jungle, a corridor of human desperation where men who had lost everything rode freight trains. They slept under bridges and scraped whatever they could from whatever was left. Nobody kept track of who came and went. That invisibility is important. Hold on to it. Now, the people. Because before any of them became case numbers, they were human beings. Edward Andrassy was 29. He had worked as an orderly in a hospital's psychiatric ward. When he died, he was unemployed and had no fixed address. The kind of man the system had quietly stopped tracking. Florence Polillo was 44. She moved through Cleveland's informal economy for years. Bars, gambling dens, the shadow labor that the city did not acknowledge. Police knew her name, not because she was a criminal, but because she existed in monitored spaces. And then there is the man the papers called the Tattooed Man. He was found decapitated in the summer of 1936 near the railroad tracks. His head was located about 1/500 feet away. Police fingerprinted him, photographed every tattoo, made a plaster cast of his face. And then they did something almost unimaginable. They put his face and his tattoos on public display at the Great Lakes Exposition, in front of more than 100,000 people. Not one person recognized him. Think about that. A man with 6 tattoos, including 2 names, was murdered. His face was shown to 100,000 people, and nobody knew who he was. He went into the ground nameless, and he stayed there for 88 years. Until 2024. Most of the other victims, we have even less. 6 male John Does, 4 Jane Does. People so thoroughly erased by poverty that no one filed missing persons reports, no dental records, no family who knew which direction to look. People the system had already decided didn't matter. And a killer who understood that better than the system itself did. The killer chose these people deliberately. Not because they were easy to find, because they were easy to lose. Someone had studied this city, mapped its margins, identified which human beings the world would not notice going missing, and used that as a weapon. That level of premeditation doesn't come from impulse, it comes from planning. September 5, 1934. A woman's lower torso washes ashore on the beach. She will later be nicknamed the Lady of the Lake. Her body had been treated with a chemical substance, a preservative that turned the skin red, tough, and leathery, like something prepared, like something stored. She was never identified. Most researchers today consider her the first victim. The official investigation wouldn't acknowledge that for years. Why? Because acknowledging her meant the timeline was longer. The case was bigger, and the failure was deeper. September 23, 1935. 2 boys are walking near a steep embankment when they find 2 bodies. Both male, both decapitated, both completely nude. One is Edward Andrassy, identified by fingerprints. He had rope burns on his wrists. The autopsy report is explicit. The decapitation was the cause of death. He was alive, he was restrained. And then, he wasn't. The second man had been saturated in oil and partially set on fire after death. His body hair was shaved or burned away. His skin presented that same reddish, leathery texture, the exact same one seen on the Lady of the Lake over a year before. The coroner noted something that separated this from any ordinary homicide. The cuts weren't hacked, they were exact. The kind of dissection performed under controlled conditions by someone experienced. Cleveland police were looking for someone with surgical training. They just didn't know it yet. January 26, 1936. Florence Polillo is found dismembered. Thighs, arms, sections of torso, wrapped in newspaper and packed into baskets, left in an alley like trash. Her head was never found. Because the head was missing, technically, the coroner could not rule the death a homicide. Sit with that for a second. A woman is found packed into baskets, and the official document hedges on whether she was murdered. That tells you a lot about what the city thought of Florence Polillo. June 5th, 1936. A decapitated torso is found between two sets of railroad tracks, directly in front of a police station. A worker confirms the head was not there just hours earlier. The body has been completely drained of blood, killed elsewhere, transported and positioned. This is the tattooed man. The man who was left out in the open, deliberately where someone would find him. This isn't the behavior of someone trying to hide. This is theater. It is a killer performing for an audience he had already chosen. July 1936. A skull surfaces near a creek. September 1936. A female lower torso is found. February 1937. A female pelvis and legs are left beneath a bridge. June 1937. Body parts are found so close to City Hall that investigators go quiet. The bloodbath continues until August 1938, with 2 more bodies on the lakefront. In full view of the office of the man in charge of stopping this, his name was Eliot Ness, the man who dismantled Al Capone's empire, the leader of the Untouchables. In 1935, he was Cleveland's public safety director. He was being taunted, bodies placed right in his line of sight. Later, the man Ness believed to be the killer would begin sending him postcards from inside a psychiatric institution, the correspondence of someone who knew with absolute certainty that he was beyond reach. Ness never made an arrest. The case would follow him for the rest of his life. He was being taunted, bodies placed right in his line of sight. Later, the man Ness believed to be the killer would begin sending him postcards from inside a psychiatric institution, the correspondence of someone who knew with absolute certainty that he was beyond reach. Ness never made an arrest. The case would follow him for the rest of his life. The chemical preservative treatment pointed to access to embalming fluids. You don't find that in a hardware store. Victims showed almost no defensive wounds. Either they trusted whoever killed them, or they were effectively restrained. Lead detective Peter Merillo worked this case for 6 years. He dressed as a hobo, lived on the streets, interviewed hundreds of people. He never got close. What he did say is that the killer was coldly efficient, not manic, not erratic, surgical. Theory 1. The official answer, Frank Dolezal. In May 1939, a private investigator arrested Frank Dolezal for Florence's murder. Under interrogation, he confessed. Cleveland exhaled. But Dolezal described the crime scene incorrectly. He was a barely literate bricklayer. No anatomical knowledge, no access to chemicals. The confession had been coerced. In August 1939, he was found dead in his cell, officially suicide. But an autopsy revealed 6 broken ribs. That's not a resolution. It is a door someone locked from the outside. Theory 2. The untouchable, Dr. Francis Sweeney. In the summer of 1938, Eliot Ness secretly interrogated a war veteran surgeon. Dr. Francis Sweeney had performed battlefield amputations. He knew the area of the crimes from childhood. He was a large man, capable of carrying bodies. Sweeney failed the polygraph multiple times, but Ness had no physical evidence. Shortly after the interrogation, Sweeney voluntarily committed himself to a psychiatric clinic. The murders stopped. From inside, he sent those taunting postcards to Ness. He was the cousin of a sitting US congressman. In the political machinery of the time, that connection was a force field. Theory 3. The system. What if the murders stopped because someone with authority decided to cover them up? All official police records on the murders vanished. A 4-year investigation simply disappeared. The interrogation of the prime suspect happened in a hotel with no formal records. Former colleagues on the case refused to identify the suspect decades later. They had promised Ness that the name would never be spoken. That wasn't to protect a killer. It was to protect the political machine and the city's corruption. The truth cost too much. Here is where we land in 2024. In July 2024, the court allowed the exhumation of the unidentified victims. A DNA project began working to find out who they were. The first body exhumed was the tattooed man, the most famous unidentified victim in Cleveland's history. The man whose plaster face was shown to 100,000 people and came home nameless. The team will extract the DNA, build a genetic profile, and search for living relatives. Someone who might still remember a name. But the remains are 90 years old. They are in an unmarked potter's field. As of right now, the DNA results aren't back. The tattooed man does not have a name. The life he had is still sitting in a database waiting to be found. Eliot Ness died broke. Dr. Sweeney died in the psychiatric clinic uncharged. Sweeney's postcards are still in the archives. No remorse, just the certainty of someone who understood how invisible evil can be. I don't have a clean ending for you. The tattooed man still doesn't have a name. Most will never get one. And the man who killed them died in a hospital bed unpunished. This case isn't cold, it is unfinished. When those DNA results come back, I'll cover it, every development. So if you want to know when it happens, the subscribe button exists for exactly that. Tell me in the comments, do you think the tattooed man will finally get his name? And who do you think the Mad Butcher really was? Because the people who worked this case made a promise not to answer that question. But you don't have to.